In today for Devon Cornelius, who's out taking care of some very important business. But I'm pleased to be here with a very important guest, having a very important conversation with you, the listeners. We are with this morning the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terrance, who is fresh back in the Federation from some recent travels. He's got some updates to provide us with on his recent trip to the 7th meeting of the OECS Authority. I'm quite sure we're all anxious to hear the outcome of that meeting. And a bit of a preview of what is to come. He is set to travel again very shortly, as CARICOM's chairmanship will very soon change. We're shifting from Prime Minister Mia Mottley over to Prime Minister Holness, who is Prime Minister of Jamaica. We have another very important matter to speak with, but I will leave that for the Prime Minister to preface for us. Good morning, Prime Minister. Welcome to The Edge.
Yes, good morning, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for asking.
To thank you for fitting in. For the usual host, and let me say good morning to all of our citizens and residents who are listening in, and I'm welcoming them to this program today to give them some very critical and pertinent update. I realize you had an outline with respect to the OECS. So if you want me to get into it, I can.
Of course, if you can just give us a quick update. Right. I know we'll have press releases and so on coming out from Press Library, right. But if you can give us some insight into what we maybe didn't get a view of. Right.
So basically, the OECS changed leadership in terms of the chairmanship, and we shifted from Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, and we now have as the chair Prime Minister Gonzalez from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and he will serve a year. Now, the OECS, as we know, the OECS Authority, we meet regularly, and we discuss matters of critical importance. What I want to really put here is that we also had a parliamentary session where we discuss a number of critical bills which we'll put out. Those bills, of course, were dealing with the harmonization of trading of goods and services within the OECS, to remove as many barriers as possible so that we can continue to become a single economic space, which of course would widen the market, make us more resilient and less vulnerable, and would benefit all of our people. So I want to stress to our people how important it is to be a part of the OECS. Why is it important? One, there are things that we will not be able to achieve alone because of our size, limited resources, and no country in the OECS will be able to achieve alone sufficiently enough to be, of course, respected and, at the international level. For example, let us look at our court. We have an Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. That, of course, that court serves all of us here in the Eastern Caribbean. No individual country, I think, would be capable of having a Supreme Court had they do it on their own, because again, the resources that are required, none of us would have those resources that would be required. That is critically important. That is why the OECS is so important. We have, for example, ECA that deals a lot with the airspace and movement of aircraft in and out of the region. This actually helped our airports to be certified so that we can receive jet planes, for example, from the United States of America and so forth. Had we been in a position where we would have to do it alone, we would not be able to do it. And if we can't do it to get that level of certification, it means, therefore, we would not have a tourism product. Our people will not be able to travel, let's say, to Canada, the United States, UK, and so forth, on direct flights. I say all of that to say that we need this type of regional arrangement so that we can continue to benefit as a region, because alone we cannot do it. So the OECS is critically important, very important, and that is why these meetings are so important for us to attend, participate, and make sure we contribute. Out of that meeting, we have seen tremendous thrust to move education forward. There's a revamping of primary education here in the region. As a matter of fact, in addition to that, young people from across the region has just put together a platform where our children would have access to materials for learning virtually, online. It's our young people in the Caribbean, in the region, created that in the OECS region. Whereas we used to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for these programs. These programs are costing us next to nothing, and they're extremely effective. For example, the cost per student used to be thousands of dollars. With this new program, the cost per student is cents. So it means, therefore, that from this one single program we can recognize, we are looking to see how we can create, of course, specialized area for medical care in different countries, so that each country does not have to carry all the burden of having specialized centers. For example, St. Kitts can say we'll specialize in this, Antigua can carry one, St. Vincent can carry one, and so that the air transport is such so that our people can move across the region, get healthcare at extremely high levels of quality, and each country would not be burdened with creating all of these centers, because all of us don't have the resources in order to do such. I'm saying all of this to say how important the OECS. So when people ask what is important of the OECS, just think about your court system. Think about your telecommunication system. Think about your air transport system. All these things, all these certifications that we get, it is because we are working together as a single space almost on these within the OECS region. Even your medication. I made the point when I presented in the parliament, I look at the benefits we are getting from the OECS, and I made the point, for example, insulin. Insulin in the OECS is extremely cheap. For example, Joe Biden just recently, when he was president, passed a law to give access to all persons who need insulin access, because it was too expensive for some people. But here in the Caribbean, in the OECS, because we buy in bulk, we have a common purchasing system that allows us to be able to buy these medications that would otherwise be very expensive to offer to our people at extremely low cost. And so people have access. Insulin, as I would say, is very accessible to the people within the OECS region. Something as simple as that. So that is the power of the OECS. And so I want to say that St. Kitts and Nevis will continue to participate. St. Kitts and Nevis will continue to build towards a more unified OECS, so that at the end of the day it can redound to the benefits of all of us. So I wanted to make that point and to say that the OECS meeting was very successful, and I want to thank my colleagues and all those who joined me where I'm being a part of that. Now the other matter you discussed is about the CARICOM, and CARICOM is about to change leadership. So I'll be traveling to Jamaica, where the leadership will be passed from the Prime Minister of Barbados, Prime Minister Motley, to Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica. The CARICOM, again, is an organ of regional unity that helps us to achieve more together. Just think about, for example, CXC and CSEC. That's a regional type of organization that allows us to have a robust system, a certified system of testing our people in our educational institutions. That is one of them. Let's think about the University of the West Indies, for example. Let's think about Cricket West Indies, for example. Let's think about SEDIMA, that deals with hurricanes and disasters and so forth. These organizations leverage to all of its members, I would say, resources that each individually would have significant trouble achieving. And therefore, again, the CARICOM is not perfect, but it helps. And I would never advocate to leave the CARICOM. I would advocate for us to get it right and to make it better each time. Because again, the benefits that can be derived and the benefits that we are deriving already having a tremendous positive impact on our own development here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I am a big proponent of unity within the Caribbean region.
And in short order, I'm pretty certain that we'll have more information coming out with respect to the agenda for that meeting. So I'll leave that there because we have limited time and another very important topic to discuss this morning. Last week, news swirled, and it continued to swirl about an unpublished memo purportedly from the State Department, which is headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in which it allegedly says that another 36 countries are supposed to be added to a restriction list, which the U.S. is considering. They have said that there is no such memo. In some fora, they've actually said that. Many of the countries in the region, and so far there are only 4, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, and Dominica, I believe, which were identified as being mentioned in this memo. You've all said that we've not received any official communication from the State Department. What, if any, update is there to that issue since your statement to the country last week?
Right. So I want to thank you for the opportunity, because I've been hearing a lot of things with respect to this, but I think I've been forthright and upfront with the people. I think this news from the Washington Post I think the date came out, maybe it's last Saturday, I think something like that. And that was on the weekend, of course, weekend passed. Immediately, I saw it and I started to seek to get clarification. And I put out a communication to inform our people that we had not been formally informed about such list. And therefore, as we get information, we would inform our people and keep them updated. And so anyone who speaks outside of that is not being genuine in terms of really wanting to deal with this situation, how it should be dealt with. Let me put it that way. And so that is what we get. But immediately, Foreign Affairs got activated. I got in touch with the embassy of the United States of America in Barbados to get clarification. At that time, the embassy indicated that they had not received any formal communication about this so-called list. And so they had not at that time any information to share with respect to that. In addition to that, our ambassador to the United States and OS, Ambassador Her Excellency Jacinth Henry Martin, she and I spoke late and early on the matter. And a meeting was held with the State Department to seek to get clarification as to what this is about. Coming out of that meeting fundamentally is to say that they are waiting for an update from the embassy in Barbados on communication with the State Department to determine what is the way forward with this. So I still can't say that there is any official communication that we are on some kind of list, even as I speak. Has it been circulating? Yes, it has been circulating. Has it been concerning? Yes, it has been concerning. But we have been working the diplomatic channels from day one to deal with this matter and to deal with it even proactively so that we stay ahead. We have an excellent relationship with the United States of America, a relationship that spans decades. We, of course, continue to have excellent relationship, and we intend to continue that relationship. That relationship, is beyond just politics. People, a lot of our people live in the United States of America. A lot of our people have, gone to the United States of America to live. A lot of our people travel to the United States of America for vacation and other things. So there are cultural linkages as well. As I said to the Americans all the time, one of the founding fathers is from right here, St. Kitts and Nevis, Alexander Hamilton. Mm-hmm. And many of our citizens would have had tremendous positive impact on the development of the United States of America. Our citizens directly who left and migrated, or the descendants of our citizens, and I can call a number of them who have contributed significantly to the advancement of the United States of America. And it's like that across the Caribbean as well. And so we are making sure that we do all that is necessary to do so that we can maintain that strong, vibrant relationship that we have with the United States of America. So again, I will report, have we received a formal document based on what was reported in the news media? No, we have not. Have our embassy in the United States been in touch with the State Department? Yes, with the other countries to be proactive about it. Are we awaiting more information? Yes, we are awaiting more information. And so we'll continue to be in touch and continue to update our people. But as far as I can report now, everything is normal. Our people can travel to the United States. They can apply for a visa to the United States of America. Everything remains totally normal. If things were to change, I would update our people and make sure that they have the relevant information. But I want to say to our people that we have taken this seriously. It is our number one priority in terms of our foreign service that we deal with this report that came by means of a news medium, specifically the Washington Post, and subsequently others would have picked it up. Let me say, however, that we have been in contact with the United States of America on a number of critical issues that you would know, and the issue of the having Cuban healthcare professionals here in St. Kitts and Nevis, which we have said we would only have Cuban healthcare professionals here if all of the rules and laws governing human rights and governing labor rights internationally are respected, and we are respecting those laws. However, when those questions are asked, we take those questions seriously. And therefore, if a question is asked by the United States of America, and we have also been asked by the Human Rights Commission of the OAS, which we are responding to really educate them, or to share information rather, of how we engage the Cuban healthcare professionals here. I would reiterate that the Cuban healthcare professional is treated like our own healthcare professional at all levels. Remuneration is exactly the same. They pay their social security, and at some point they will qualify. If they pay into, they qualify just like any other contracted worker. The other thing is, when they're here, we give them access to housing and transportation to get to the hospital. They also have access to their travel document. They can travel anytime. And the contract that we set up is directly with the Cuban professional, so that they open their own bank account and we deposit that money into their bank account.
And what they do with that is their business.
Has nothing to do with me, because they're professionals. I've seen Cuban healthcare professionals buy their own car. They travel here, they go there, wherever their passport can take them. And we will never think about taking their passport. These are people with their own rights. They have access to their passport. They can travel when they want. And if they wish to end the contract at any time, they can end the contract. Just as we can end the contract if we so wish to end the contract. But I would add to say that Cuba has been a tremendous positive force for us here, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but the region. None of us would have made it through COVID during that most difficult time had it not been for the Cuban healthcare professionals. And so we understand that Cuba and some of the specialists we have at the hospital are Cubans, and they're helping tremendously. But we don't only contract Cuban healthcare professionals who come directly from Cuba, but we have Cuban healthcare professionals who we contract independently, who do not come from Cuba, who probably live in St. Kitts and Nevis or live in the United States, and we contract them to come to St. Kitts and Nevis to work in our healthcare sector. For example, the ophthalmologist who is here is a direct contract with her. And we have that and one of the nephrologists, who is the kidney doctor, a direct contract. So we have a number of healthcare professionals with whom we have direct contracts. And we have those who we contract out of Cuba, but the contract is with the physician and not with the Cuban state. The money is paid to the physician and not to the Cuban state. So I just wanted to make that absolutely clear, that we have both type of physician from Cuba, those who come directly from Cuba and those who are independently contracted, and all of them get the same benefits as all of our contracted healthcare professionals here in St. Kitts and Nevis, irrespective of where they come from.
Nobody being taken advantage of, nobody being exploited.
Not at all.
Perfect.
Right.
Another issue, and I just want to touch on some of the points that were made in the Washington Post article. It was also carried in the Associated Press. They also raised the issue of our CBIs. And a blind man can see that the 4 Caribbean nations that are identified all have a CBI, an active and thriving CBI program. Now, not too very long ago, the CBI nations within the region met, consensus was met, regulatory systems set up. If someone were to come and ask you the question, is the CBI really an issue, or is this just something to take down CBIs and put our countries back into subservience? What would your response be to that?
Well, let me say, as I said from the beginning, that CBI would be the most challenging thing of my prime ministership. I think at the time people didn't fully understand what I was saying. all these issues that are surfacing now, I expected them to surface. And that is why I said from the very beginning that we have to transition away from CBI and to create a diversified economy. Because under the previous administration, we had become overly dependent on CBI, which has made us extremely vulnerable. Can you imagine a country depending on CBI for 60 to 70% of its recurrent budget? Not even its capital budget, its recurrent budget. What does that mean? The money you use to pay everyday salaries and so forth. 70%. I think that was irresponsible in terms of a financial economic strategy. And that is why I continue to call out the former administration for making that I would call horrendous strategic decision. Notwithstanding, the CBI has been very, very fruitful for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The CBI has helped to transform us. It has given us resources that helped to really advance our country of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think where we could have done better is that CBI income, we should have used it to diversify the economy. So like you get it and you invest it, let's say in agriculture, specifically for agriculture to grow to be a pillar. That is what. Are you invested in another sector, tourism, invested in different areas so that they can become strengthened and really help you to diversify the economy. And that is why I made that speech when I made it, and in the budget last time where we talk about seed speaking to a diversified economy. And what we have done? We have sought to get major investments that are non-CBI dependent, such as the attracting foreign direct investment through the safe harbor matter. Safe harbor, as I said before, it is the biggest company in the world, very reputable, and St. Kitts will become one of the premier yachting destinations in the Caribbean, period. That would create a lot of jobs for our people and opportunities. That is about the diversification. We have sought to do what we call the Pepper Project, where we're now going to cultivate 100 to 110 acres to provide hundreds of jobs for our people who are in the agricultural sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The tourism sector, where we are now pursuing the Ritz-Carlton, and that again is non-CBI dependent. Building of the Bastia High School, non-CBI dependent. And I have a number of other projects I will announce in the next coming 2 weeks. So one maybe as early as next week, all goes well. And we have also sought to do the water project, non-CBI, with the Taiwanese. We have gone to do the transformation of Skelec, non-CBI, that what we are doing with the Saudi Fund for Development. And so we started a strategy of how can we get St. Kitts and Nevis to pivot from the CBI so that when this day would come, that even though it would be challenging, we would have a clear pathway of how we are going to get to where we want to get to. The second part of the question you ask, I don't know the full motives of people, but I know hitting a blow to CBI would hit the whole region because it is a major source of foreign currency here in the region. Apart from tourism, CBI, of course, contributes significantly to our foreign exchange. And that foreign exchange is what helps to buttress our EC dollar. So this is critically important. And that is why I say we have to be responsible what we say about the CBI. However, I always thought that CBI should have been put on a pathway. We have now done that to strengthen it. And you see all the changes that I've made since I got into office, I've been criticized and been criticized severely. Some people say, why are you making these changes? And they will hurt. It is not that. It's strike a balance. You have to strengthen the CBI program. Otherwise, it can result in a lot of other issues. And I'm happy that we started the pathway to that. Presently, just yesterday, last evening, the heads of the countries involved, all prime ministers were there, along with the governor of the central bank and other persons, because we are putting the regulatory body together. We intend to have that regulatory body in place within the next month. All of us are going to pass the legislation to set up a regional regulatory body for the CBI program. And so we are going to also be connecting with our international partners, the EU, the UK, the United States of America, all involved, so that they can see the tremendous progress that we have made and what we have decided to do in coming as a region and setting up a regulatory body at the OECS level, just like what we did with the central bank and other institutions. So that is in the making, and we want to make sure that they see that we are serious when we say we want the sector to be properly regulated so that it is no threat to anyone at all. We want to be responsible countries, a responsible region, a responsible member of the international community. But I'm happy that what is happening now, this has not caught me off guard at all. I was preparing the country for this, because in the last administration, when the then Prime Minister was asked about CBI, how many persons, I'm the only Prime Minister who was given these numbers. He said it's an industry secret. You cannot be doing citizenship of a country and say it's an industry secret. The people have a right to know. And that is why last December I gave the numbers so people can know exactly what we have been doing. That is why I've been so transparent with our people. That is why I've changed the laws, because I needed to strengthen the laws to help to strengthen the program. However, there are other things that we continue to do to strengthen the program even more. But one thing that must be said, if we are honest, is that this administration from day one sought to strengthen the CBI as much as possible and to make sure that it is less vulnerable to the type of risk that we are facing right now in terms of what would happen to CBI going forward. We have done tremendous work, and we will continue to do that work. So I'm happy about the regulatory body to come, which is going to come soon. So just to update our people, I have met with the UK authorities, the EU authorities, the United States authorities, and so forth, and this whole matter. We have shown them how we have really progressed, changing the laws, the regulations, and so forth to strengthen the program so that it can be, of course, be respected. We know that it should be respected, but that there are no gaps, and we continue to close these. So I want to say to all listening that the CBI, we will continue to make the necessary changes to make sure that it continues to be a strong program. Nonetheless, it is obvious that we cannot stand on one foot. We need to stand on multiple feet. We need an economy that is diversified, and I will continue to push that. So I'll say within the next year and a half will be what I call adaptive change. We have to start shifting, and we are seeing the shift coming because we are attracting investors, we are pushing out major projects, we are positioning ourselves in other directions so that this economy can be less resilient, less vulnerable, more resilient, and as strong as it can be.
I just want to remind our listeners here on ZIZ that you're listening to The Edge. We're this morning with the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honourable Dr. Terrance, who is discussing a number of issues with us. Earlier in the conversation, we had a discussion about what happened at the CARICOM, that should be the 77th meeting of the OECS Authority that just recently concluded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's off very shortly to Jamaica, where Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness will soon assume the chairmanship of CARICOM. And now we are on the issue of this supposed U.S. state memo where a few countries in the region are under some threat. I want to let you know, as listeners, that we invite you to participate in this conversation. You can do so by calling 465-1977 or 465-1903. You can also get us on our mobile number 662-8674. Call in. We'd love to hear from you, and I know the Prime Minister would love to entertain your questions and give some responses. Prime Minister, another issue that was raised in that supposed memo, and I want us to touch on them because people are going to ask, that of deportation. Right. I remember it was not the last roundtable, perhaps the one before, that question was in fact raised, and you gave some information on St. Kitts and Nevis's cooperation with ICE's efforts to deport persons in the United States who are there illegally or who have passed their time. Can you tell us what St. Kitts and Nevis's situation is with regard to deportations?
So our situation with deportation, we've always had that arrangement with the United States of America. That has not changed. It has not changed. If we have a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis who is in the United States of America, who has violated their laws and so forth, and they have deemed that they want to deport that citizen back to their country, we will receive our citizen back in St. Kitts and Nevis. So our citizens are always welcome back. Of course, we'll put in the safeguards to make sure that we protect ourselves based on who is coming back to our country. But our country is willing and our country is ready to receive our citizens if they are deemed to be deported from the United States of America. So there is no issue there, and we have said that to the United States of America. And we have gotten one or two citizens who have come back, who have been deported to St. Kitts and Nevis, and they're here, and so we'll continue to work. Again, because the United States has its right. It's the right of the United States of America who they invite to their country, just like we have a right to determine who come to St. Kitts and Nevis. The only thing we ask, just like when human rights questions are asked, is that their human rights be respected, just as we would respect the human rights of any U.S. citizen, or any citizen, any human being, period, who is here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We respect their human rights. But we have declared, and we are willing, and we are ready to receive our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis if they are deported from the United States of America. Now, there was the other question about us receiving persons from third countries. Because of our small size and our limited resources, that is something that St. Kitts and Nevis cannot do as a result of that. You look at our structure and so forth. So, but of course, we will never refuse our own citizens to come back to St. Kitts and Nevis. So beyond our citizens, our limited resources, our financial restraint, our small size really limit us in extending this type of thing to persons from third countries. But to say that we, would always seek to cooperate internationally to help fellow citizens of other countries and human beings. Let me say why I say it in that context. For example, that a boat came to St. Kitts and Nevis with some persons who capsized. Some died and some survived. They were here. I met with them and I said, basically, St. Kitts and Nevis will respect your human rights, even though you are not from here. We don't have confirmation of where you are from, but we do know that you are a human being, and we'll treat you with dignity. We reach out to the United Nations, UNRC, and we said to them, we have these persons here who have claimed that they were traveling from Africa and the boat capsized and so forth, and so we have them here. Let us work together to make sure that we can help them as human beings, respecting their human rights. That is how we operate, and we protected them, and we helped them. And one or two of them, I think I hear some of them would have gone. So we have a very good track record of respecting people's human rights, people's labor rights. We are proponents of those things locally, regionally, and internationally as well. And so yes, we continue to monitor the situation in the United States with respect to our citizens, and also when the question is asked about that, just because of our limited size and so forth, it does not put us in a position to accept others at this particular time. And
just to be clear, it's only one or two persons who have because we have a population of 50,000. So we don't have, relative to some other countries and so on, you don't want to call names, but we don't have a lot of people being deported.
No.
So there's no strain on our resources. No. There's no concerns for us. I know emphasis for you has been in recent times very heavy on citizen security.
Yes.
There's no citizen security concern for us.
No. So at this time, it is not a very high number. The few who come back, we have measures in place to deal with the situation accordingly from the United States of America. So there's no financial burden, period, and there is no threat to our national security as a result, even though we are prudent in making sure we take the measures to protect us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But you are correct, no.
And I don't have any insider information, but no. I want to believe that, again, because of our small size, we're probably just dealing with people who overstayed. We're not really dealing with violent criminals being deported.
Right. So the violent criminal part, we don't have a lot of that in the United States of America. No, we don't. Maybe from other countries around, but the United States of America, no.
Okay.
Not significant at all.
So all you don't overstay the visa time when you get the visa time.
So I would ask our people to please respect the immigration laws of the United States of America. Just like we have laws and we want people to respect our laws here, I want to encourage our citizens to respect other countries' laws. They decide if they invite you in or not. It is their prerogative to do such. But if they give you the opportunity to be invited in, then I ask our citizens to respect their laws.
And I know coming out of this conversation, someone out there is going to say, well, what does this mean for the strength of our passport? St. Kitts and Nevis, despite its small size, has enjoyed a very strong passport, coveted passport. All of these things happening, the discussions that are taking place, what is the impact on our passport, and what are we doing to further strengthen the passport, that document itself, whether it's our biometrics, whether it is our security for persons holding passports, because I think this sort of goes back into the CBI thing where persons are saying, well, we don't have a residency requirement as far as I know for applicants at this time. What certainty do we have that we can continue to maintain the strength of our passport?
Right, so that is a very good question. Just to say, as a side note, our new passport was just ranked the best new passport in the world.
Wonderful.
Yes, I know our people don't know that, because we went to a very high-end passport and it was judged the best new passport, not in the region, in the world.
So that's in respect of the security features and so on?
So all the security features that we have put in our passport, it is judged. So that is how seriously we take security. In addition, we just launched our ETA system, which is, of course, I would tell you, is one of the best as well. I can tell you that. It creates seamless travel, but apart from that, the security features of it are tremendous. Now, with respect to the CBI program, the biometrics and the residency aspect of it, the residency aspect of it is basically to say, should they come to St. Kitts and Nevis and have residency? That was part of what we discussed last evening with the leaders. I can tell you that a residency clause will be part of the new law. Let me say that clear. Residency clause and the biometrics, those will be part of the new law, which is to pass very, very soon, within a few weeks. And that is the kind of communication that we will have with our international partners. So if the EU listening, the UK listening, the United States and so forth, I want to say that in the legislation to be passed within the next few weeks, we'll have a residency requirement, and it will also have with it making sure that the biometrics are up to par. We have in person, where we have virtual interview in person. We'll collect biometrics as well, and the residency clause will also be in there. So as I said, we were on a path of making sure that we continue to strengthen the CBI program. So this is not seen as disingenuous. This is actually a path that we have been traveling, since day one. And so we are getting where we want to go, and we'll be there very, very soon with the residency requirement that will be implemented as well.
Prime Minister, I want to thank you for your time this morning. We had an opportunity to touch on very many things, and I know hardworking Press Sec Library will continue to share information with us in the coming days.
Yes.
I want to give you an opportunity now to wrap up, perhaps touch on any area we weren't able to do this morning. So
I'm looking at the time, and I have a few minutes. Some good news. I want to congratulate all the graduates who have recently graduated from universities around the world. There are a number of persons, of course, who have graduated from my own constituency. I want to also congratulate Mr. Keandre Weeks, who has been selected to intern at the OECS Supreme Court. He is the first Kittitian division to have been given that wonderful opportunity. It speaks to who he is as a young man. He was a young man that I gave a scholarship since he was in primary school. He won my award, and when he went to high school again, and then eventually he came to work in the AG's office, and I gave him another scholarship to go to law school, because he performed extremely well in his undergrad, and now he's gone to law school. I gave him a scholarship, and he has done exceedingly well. He's a young man who has come from far. He's the product of a teenage pregnancy. His mom who is a professional teacher and has worked extremely hard to give him the opportunity. So I just want to congratulate Keandre on this excellent achievement, and I'm happy that I was a small part of this and recognize his tremendous potential and was able to help him to this point. I also want to congratulate Tamajo Kitwana, who also just recently graduated at Monroe. And I point her out because, she's a single mom who has been working extremely hard to get university education. And, she had been through it before, but to see now that she's actually achieving it really speaks to her resilience and her strength. I pointed out those two to show people that, Keandre, in the case that he was a product of a teenage pregnancy, and look at where he has gone. And Tamajo, who is a single mom, look at what she has done. To say that, where you start does not determine your end or your destination. And even if things don't go perfect, even in the middle of the journey, you can always correct it. So these are examples of hope, examples that as a people we can achieve much. This evening on my this weekend I'll do my podcast, and I'll have some young people on to discuss how this government has helped young people to achieve their goals and their dreams. And so we'll explore education as part of that as well. But to finally say, as I say, I have 2 more minutes here, that we have been engaging with respect to the information that was in the Washington Post with respect to this list. We have been engaging with the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. We have been engaging with the U.S. State Department in Washington through our ambassador there, Her Excellency Jacinth Martin. And I want to say that this is our highest priority at this particular time. I initially updated our people within 48 hours of seeing the post, of course gathering information, and now I'm updating them again that these meetings were held. We have not received official communication that we are on a particular list. Nonetheless, we'll continue to engage because it's critically important, and I want to encourage our people to tune into what I will call the legitimate sources of information, such as would be given by the Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or SKNS, or the government itself, as these sources are the reliable sources to have the information. As for now, I will say to our people, continue to enjoy the access you have to the United States of America. Everything is normal and intact, and if there are any changes, I want them to know that I would be here again to inform them and update them, and to finally say that yes, we are working the diplomatic channels as a country and as a region to make sure that whatever this is, that is dealt with how it should be dealt with, and to finally say that we are advancing further our CBI program to make sure it is strengthened, and never again would it be said that the CBI program is an industry secret. It is not. It is the business of the people, and I criticize severely the former administration for hiding the information from the people. The lack of transparency and the lack of integrity, those things call a lot of things into question. But with me and with this administration and with this cabinet and with my colleagues, we are making sure that we stick to our principles of transparency and integrity, and the CBI is no exception. So we'll continue to work, and I'll continue to update the people. So I want to thank you, the people, for joining me this morning on this show, where I have used the opportunity to officially update you as to where we are with respect to the issue of being on a list. Thank you very much.
And allow me to thank you again, Prime Minister, for joining us here at ZIZ On The Edge. I'm Ebony Brandon, having the privilege to sit in today for none other than your normal host, Devon Cornelius, who's out today. Until next time, stay with us. The news is up next.